So good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
So my name is student DHB student Briggs, as you will see. And today I want to speak to you all a little bit about communication in the workplace, right? Anybody can tell me, by the way, quickly, what you think is communication? What is communication?
Everybody must know what is going on. The relevant people must know what is going on, and the information must be passed around in the proper way.
Nice. So you're talking about communication in the workplace.
Yes.
Right. But I asking to basic communication. What is communication?
You must know how to
Means
talk.
to deliver a
How to
message.
talk. Means to deliver a message. Where is it?
The ability to understand the message that is being delivered.
And you had to understand the message. You see, why I wanted to talk to me like that, because now, I mean, already saying why I want to tell her.
Okay.
So you all have the information, so we all will bring it out, the information. So it's not going to be just me talking to you all, but we're going to discuss about communication in the workplace,
So
right?
then that will-
So this session, we will define what is communication. So we all will have a general understanding of what communication is. We want to just list, so we will talk about the different types of communication, describe the key components. This is a big word, but we're just talking about all the little things that come together to make effective communication, because we have communication and then we have effective communication, right? So we'll deal up with that, and then lastly, because we're dealing with communication in the workplace, we'll talk a bit about bureaucratic communication. Now, bureaucratic is a big word. Basically, we're talking about communication along the lines of the power structure in the workplace, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about that. So you all said different things about what you all think communication is, but I have a little definition, and it says communication is a process by which information is exchanged between individuals through a common system of symbols, signs, or behavior. So three things I want you to remember: symbols, signs, and behavior, which means there's different types of communication, and it's basically a process where we exchange information. So I'll be asking you all back, right? Like, so in their own words, they will tell me later on what communication is, right? Why is communication important to us in the workplace? See how they're watching my screen, so here. So they will tell me without the screen. Why communication? Just quickly, what do you think? Why communication is important for us in the workplace?
So we will be able to deliver healthcare in the proper way.
All right, nice.
So we won't have arguments and we'll get work done.
Right, so we talk about is the arguments, what's the word? I think we spoke about it earlier. Conflict.
Conflict.
So it's in dealing with conflict resolution. Nice. What about you? What do you think? All right, everybody was on the button so far. Wait. Nice. First of all, communication is the foundation of interaction. You cannot interact. You cannot have any type of interaction without communication. That's every interaction is based on communication. Then communication helps to build trust and respect amongst one another. You can't work with Miss Lopez, and don't have a certain trust and respect for her. The work will not be done. You won't get effective work being done as well, right? We talk about conflict resolution. If you and I having an issue, a lot of times it's just because we didn't have proper communication. Because you try to give me a message, but what I hear, and there are different reasons why communication is not effective, and we'll talk about that. But you try to tell me something, I hear something totally different, and I want to, you know. But the point is, effective communication can help to decrease conflict in the workplace, and then team cohesion. Because if we could understand each other, if we could learn to respect each other, then we could work together better. And we all know together everyone achieves more. So we talk about the types of communication. So we have verbal communication, which most of the time when we talk about communication, we think about verbal communication, about speaking. So once we speak in the same language, we communicating. So English language is what we use here, but of course it have other languages that other people use in different parts of the world. Then we have non-verbal. Somebody tell me what is non-verbal communication?
You see the expression on my face. So
Aha!
you know.
The expression of it.
Expression.
So I can be talking to you,
And
or I can be talking to you. That is non-verbal. But what else could be non-verbal communication? Signs. So like you could have like sign language. But what else? Other than just sign. Your whole body language.
What do I mean here with the
Your,
facial?
but your facial expression is one part of body language. But if just look at me, right? If I stand up like this, or if I so, or if I, all of that saying something,
Okay.
that's communication, but it's not verbal. So that's non-verbal communication. And then the last one is written communication. And in the workplace, written communication is very, very important, especially in bureaucratic communication. Because if we have to communicate with our senior nurse or whoever, supervisor, there's a lot of protocol and stuff that goes there, and written communication is important. And we have to know how to do it, because there's a special way to do it, right? So, what are those key components? Again, let me go back a little bit. I want a little talk to me. Yes, I like when you're talking with me. What are those key components? What do you think is important? Let me say we have a potapela. What are those ingredients there that is important for effective communication?
Chicken.
We talking about communication, not in pela. That was a
So we had to sit down
example.
together,
Mm-hmm.
and everybody must be able to share their little views, and then we take from that.
Right. So we sit together, everybody share their views.
Mhm.
So which means
They make the input.
everybody getting to make their input. And
yeah.
that's how you
Input,
get
yeah.
effective
But
communication.
Yes.
I believe people must also come open-minded. not
Open-minded.
just- yeah, not just stuck on what they think. To come in to learn, because in communicating you could also learn from your peers to see what could be changed.
And that is so on the button, because one of the barriers to effective communication is coming with your preconceived ideas.
Yeah.
So I'm watching you and I say, but she's a Rasta, I mean, she's smoking weed, right? So no matter what you tell me,
You're just
I don't
socially-
know you smoking weed.
Mm.
So you could never have effective communication, because if you come to tell me something now that says that no, I don't smoke weed, you're not going to believe me, right? So having that open-mindedness is really important, an important part in the pot of the pillow for effective communication. Wells Lopez, you think might be an important thing in effective communication?
Feedback.
Feedback. You want to give us a little more about feedback?
Well, if you say something, it's always good to hear what the other person think, what you say, to make sure they're on the same page.
This is a bright class, man. I don't have to teach. So what you're saying is, again, spot on. Feedback, because same way, she could tell me, well, I don't do this, but I heard something else, or maybe even her body language, or because I had a preconceived ideas about her, I have my own idea about what she said and what it meant. But if I tell her back now what I think she said, then she can say, but no, that's not what I mean. I really meant so. So that feedback is also a very important important part of effective communication. And yes, we coming to you, right? I'm not leaving you out.
Okay,
So
so,
what you-
whatever message you're trying to relay must be clear.
Wait, all I read my slide, all I read my slide, you know. All I read, but that is very true. It must be clear, very clear. Because if it's not clear, again, we could have preconceived, or we could come up with our own understanding of what was said, but it probably not that was being said. So yes, it must be clear. Anybody else had anything they wanted to say? Being respectful. Wow, big one. Yeah, because you can't just come and talk to people anyhow. You definitely wouldn't have that respect, that cohesion. People might zone out on you as well. They might listen to what you have to say. So having that respect is really important. So let's see what my slide had. First one was clarity and conciseness, meaning the messages should be clear and to the point. That conciseness is also very important, because it has some people, the message long.
And
By the time they reach the end of the message, you forget what was in the first part of the message. So, you know, you need to be concise, be clear on what you say. I'm saying my thing here is blue, it is blue. You can't go on and talk about all the stitching and the wording. And if the point is you want to say it is blue, say it is blue. And that way, you are sure that the person will hear what you are saying and understand. Listening actively. I'm not sure if anybody has said that. But what is listening actively? It's giving your full attention and respond with acknowledgements. So when somebody is speaking to you, when you're communicating, you need to pay attention. Because if you ain't paying attention, you will miss certain things. Sometimes we so focused on giving our side of this story or whatever that communication is happening is about. We want to give our part so much. We can't wait for the next person to finish saying we cutting them across. No. And that also will encourage the miscommunication. So you want to make sure and pay close attention and acknowledge, because sometimes I need to know that you hear what I'm saying. Yes? Sure. Right? Feedback mechanism. Somebody spoke about the feedback. Giving feedback consistently and accurately is very important to effective communication. And sometimes we give our feedback, but our feedback is not even truth as to what we would have heard. So sometimes we are sarcastic. You know what sarcastic
yeah,
means?
I just guess so sometimes.
So you're saying something, but you really mean the opposite. Not everybody understands sarcasm. So you need to be clear, especially in the workplace. You need to be clear. You need to give proper feedback. And when I mean feedback, consistently. So up until you are finished with that communication, that time of communicating, you need to continue to give feedback. Then we have non-verbal communication, which is your body language, your facial expressions should match verbal message to avoid miscommunications. And again, we go back to sarcasm. Right? You're saying one thing, but they really mean something else. Your body language showing something else. And for some people, that could be misleading. They're not sure. Oh, now, what she really mean by that? Right? You're saying you're so sad, but you're smiling. Or you're saying you're so happy, but you're frowning. They must match. Your body language must match, right? With your verbal communication. And adjusting communication style, different communication styles may suit different situations. So if I meet my fellow, let's say my cousins, my brothers, and I'm speaking with them, I might say, hey dog, what's the scene here? But when you come to work, you can't talk so to your colleagues. When you go to church, you wouldn't speak like that in church as well. If you're given a lecture, you wouldn't speak like that. So in every situation, there's a suitable and the best way to communicate. And that brings to mind the bureaucratic communication that we was talking about. So we will talk about that a little bit. But before we do that, I want us to go into a little group activity. Short and sweet. I want to give someone of you all a message, and you're passing on the message. I believe all you probably have seen this done already. But we'll do it in two now. It's just like maybe 4 you all will be involved, so it shouldn't take long. So you're passing on the message, but you're not going to use these components. You're just gonna secretly tell that person a message. You don't know feedback, no clarity, no anything, and you're just passing on the message, and we're gonna see what happens at the end of the message. Right? So I'll start the message and then you'll pass it on. So come, let me tell you the message. Come, yeah, you start it off.
Feedback.
No feedback. So I just give you the message and then you pass it on to your colleague and she'll pass it on and then she will tell me what the message is. Right?
I think you should have sent the message, yeah. Ha. Right?
You hear me?
Ha.
I
Right,
don't
something here.
think I yet.
Pass it on, pass on the message.
Hello? Yeah, no.
I think that is so good.
I don't think she's here because
Alright.
I hear nothing.
Tell,
in the kitchen.
I hear
She ain't getting
nothing.
alright, tell she one more time. Alright, so what is the message?
Hannah, we say Hannah.
Yes.
Miss Stacy is a happy camper.
Nurse Stacy is a happy camper. Right. And actually, the original message was
Without
Stacy is a
nurse,
happy
yeah.
camper. I said, don't have any nurse in
I
it.
didn't say no, sir.
So, in that short space
Out
of
of
time,
respect, she
the
put nurse.
message changed. Right? No, that's quite okay. We still got back the essence of the message. But if we had another thing, so if I had said to you, I want you to give this message, Stacy is a happy camper, and then you say, what it is, Stacy is a happy camper, and you carried it on, you would have noticed that the message would have reached back to me exactly how I gave it. Because you would see that feedback message is clear, it's concise, and it actually helps to ensure that communication is effective. So this little thing is, I want you all to always remember that. Now, sometimes we do these little training, these little teaching sessions, and we just take it, but I want you all to actually internalize it. And every time you do communication, whether it's at home, whether it's at work, think about how you communicated, whether you're being clear, whether you're being given that feedback, whether you're actively listening, right? Think about how you're doing your communication and see the difference it makes with your relationship, whether it be on work, at home, or wherever you're doing that communicating. Alright? So, let's talk a little bit about the bureaucratic communication. And I say, the bureaucratic might sound like a big word, but it's not really. It's just talking about the lines of communication, right? And the first thing we have to know is that on your job, there are hierarchical structures and formal lines of communication which you normally see like in government, large corporations and other structured organizations like our own, you have hierarchical structures and formal lines of communication. And we just want to talk a little bit about it. Yes, you have a question?
So the group thing we just had, I was being bureaucratic because I was putting a handle to the lady name by saying this.
Nurse, nice. And that's a very good observation there. That's exactly what we're talking about. Right, and we will talk a little bit more about that. Look, I actually have the last one is using proper titles and terminology when addressing staff, right? And that's very important because that could cause a breakdown in communication in the workplace. But let's just look quick at what our structure is like. Anybody could tell me from the bottom up what the structure is like here, what you see the structure is in or from the top down. So we start off with the board. Let's say, let's start with the CEO. We have the CEOs. What do we have under the CEOs? General managers. All right. Under the general manager. Right. Under general managers, we have supervisors. And coming down under each department of it. So okay, let's do for nursing. So for nurses, right? Let's do just for the nurses so we understand what the structure is like. Or we can start from the bottom. So we have PCAs, then we have ENAs, then we have registered nurses, we have district nurses, we have district health visitors, we have senior district health visitors, then we have the PCNM, and then we have the general nurse manager. So, in terms of the hierarchical structure, your line of communication starts from the bottom and go up, or from the top come down. So, you as let's say the ENA addresses her concerns to people higher than her in that order. So you could go, for instance, if you have an issue in the department, you could go to the RN, according to, if for instance the RN is in charge of the shift or the area, but then if that person cannot deal with your situation, you could go higher to the district nurse, or then district health visitor who might be in charge of the whole health center, and then you go to the senior district health visitor, and as we had spoken, you're going on and on. Now what happens when you don't use those lines of communication? You tend to get persons getting even, how you put it, offended. You might be offended because that's the line in which it goes. So you should always use that. That's a form of communication. Use those lines in order to avoid offending some of the persons who are superior to you. Right? Understood? Nice. Then you're using different forms of communication. So not all the time you will just use verbal communication. So if you have an issue, you may have to write. But who do you write to? Again, you use that same structure, and you write to the person directly above you, and then you go higher and higher to get your concerns addressed. Right? So you have to deal with protocols that govern the lines of communication, and of course use the proper titles and terminology when addressing persons. Right? And on this issue though, the bureaucratic communication, you all understand what is being taught? You all have any questions or concerns about it? Nice. So that was the end of the teaching session today. But if you all do have no questions, and not just on the last part, but you all have any questions on the whole, no? I have some questions for you then.
Oh, great.
Because I want to know that my teaching and my communication was effective. Right. So, first thing, tell me, anybody, in your own words, what is communication? Not the bureaucratic communication, but communication on what is communication? What do you think is communication? We spoke about it and I told you how to remember this. Just in your own
Communication
words.
is the way and the type of skill you use to talk to someone to convey a message.
A message, right? Getting that message across from individual to individual. Nice. Give her a round of applause. I know sweetie take about today. Sorry.
Yeah, well, tomorrow, please, God. Okay? But
And what are the different types of communication?
Verbal,
Verbal, non-verbal, and written. Nice. Uh-huh. If I could get back my... Right. What are some of the components? And just give me two. When I mean components, what remember we was talking about the pillow?
Respect.
Right.
Feedback.
Feedback.
clear and concise.
Clear and concise. So they are the thing now, man. And the last thing is, in terms of the bureaucratic communication, how is it supposed to be done?
Say it in the big bold readers, you see a chain of command.
Chain of command.
Yeah.
Nice. So I want to tell you all thank you so very much. You all are a great class.
Yes.
And thank you for spending this little time with us. And we hope that this information goes a long way in helping us to become a better organization.